Hello, I'm Zach Divelbiss. I am the owner and attorney at Future First Criminal Law. I've created a slide here that helps me give you a little more information on how we help, how we look at different cases, how we help people who are accused of committing crimes here in Arizona. And hopefully in this video you'll learn a little more about me, you'll learn a little bit more about kind of the questions I get and ultimately what I do kind of past that point. A little background about myself is I was born here in Apache Junction, Arizona. I went to ASU on a full ride, did justice studies as my undergraduate major. I then moved on to law school right afterwards, got accepted, graduated at the top of my class, and then kind of had the passion still for criminal defense. Even through law school, I knew I wanted to get into it going into law school and wanted to make sure that I still had that. And as a little more of my background, I received a DUI and some other criminal offenses when I was an undergrad there at ASU. And so it really drove my passion once I realized that I was getting charged with things that I shouldn't be charged with. I was saying things I shouldn't be saying. And ultimately, I was helping the police do things that they shouldn't have been doing. And I know what it feels like to be wrongfully accused. I know what it feels like to represent yourself at a trial. I know what it feels like to be in a courtroom, to talk to a judge, to be just in a system that is meant to kind of push you down and hold you down. So that was part of why I went into law school, and as I mentioned, after graduating law school, I then stayed in the criminal world. I went to the public defender's office in Maricopa County to do internships, eventually clerked for them. Moved after them to the private world. That way I could hopefully help people on a more independent basis, which is what I do now. I created a law firm, originally Divelbiss Law, and then I changed it over to Future First Criminal Law because it's what I truly stand for. And what my firm helps people with is we help good people stay out of jail. And what I mean by that is good people every day make 5-minute mistakes. And I don't want those mistakes to define the rest of their lives. I don't think they should. I think people who make mistakes inherently will learn from those mistakes and, learn to not make future mistakes. And sure, maybe it's not the first time or the second time, hopefully not the third, fourth, or fifth time that it takes to learn from those mistakes. And something that I find is typically the same mistake isn't made over and over again. There are other problems that happen, such as me, one DUI, some other alcohol-related underage drinking offenses, things that kept happening that are circumstantial, and you hope to learn from it and move on. Anyways, I took this experience I got from the public defender's training, and I moved it here to the private world and to my own private firm where I created more of my theme, my mantra, in order to help those people that I wanted to help, the people who had contacted me, the people who I felt really needed good representation and didn't want to just be another cog in the system per se, or somebody who didn't dedicate enough time to them. This is really speaking towards a lot of times the working class individual who they have a career, or they want to have a career, they have long-term goals, they're getting a higher degree education, or even a primary education, because many people we help are under the age of 18. And those people who have those future goals will find that any criminal offense that they are accused of will ultimately put some roadblocks, and hopefully they're roadblocks that we can move past, and then we call them speed bumps, and we can get them over and through it all. I know that's personally what I have experienced with my 6 criminal convictions that I received all before the age of 22. Those were essentially all big speed bumps. Some were bigger than others, but it ultimately didn't prohibit me from getting a higher education, getting into law school, graduating, getting my doctorate, graduating at the top of my class, getting admitted to the bar, and now obviously being an owner and a lawyer who helps keep other good people out of jail. Anyways, one of the things that is important is that those are our core values. That's what I really look for in my clients who contact my firm, who want my help. And some of the things that I mentioned here, and I'll point to it here on my screen, is many people have questions, similar questions, and then I have answers to, and they make people anxious, they make people uncomfortable. Getting charged with a criminal offense is typically not your daily talk about thing that you want to bring up. It's usually embarrassing. It's usually hard to stomach. It's usually hard to think about, especially when things that happen were, because of a 5-minute mistake, and it's not the person who you are. And so reliving those things can sometimes be hard. But ultimately, it's what you need to do and talk about with a attorney, with someone like myself who can give you a private consultation that's 100% confidential. It doesn't get shared with anybody outside the firm, and we can go through and help strategize what's going on, how to make your life better. Maybe not necessarily everything about the criminal offense, but there are so many resources that my firm has outside of just going to court and representing you. But as far as getting your life really back on track in the right way, in the most productive way, and we're a big believer, as I mentioned with the whole Future First motto, in making sure that we don't just temporarily help you, today, and then tomorrow you're back in the same problem. We really make some proactive steps, such as getting you into education, getting you into any kind of treatment programs, getting into ways that you can find jobs better, and not necessarily, better jobs, but way to find better jobs. I know that's tricky and to think about or say right now, but there are better jobs that fit certain people more than others, and there are certain people who for instance are better for certain jobs. This is the same thing that happens when people contact us, and we console them about changing the people that they typically associate with, where they live, who they interact with, things they do on a daily basis or not that often. A lot of people don't necessarily think about the way that they should be living their life versus the way they are at that moment. And there's a lot of things that people do on the daily basis that are good, are productive, and then there are other problems that are deeper down, sometimes hidden, and then they come out, and that's when the problems arise. Anyways, continuing on with what I have here, I get these kind of questions a lot, and statements and accusations, and so these are some of the things that I address in my consultations, is people saying, look, I'm innocent, can you get my case dismissed? If the alleged victim doesn't want to press the charges, will the charges be dropped? Will I have to go to trial? That's one I get a lot. If I'm offered a plea deal, should I take it? Do I really need a lawyer if I intend to plead guilty? What does beyond a reasonable doubt mean? What is the jury's role in a criminal trial? And what is your best advice to a person facing criminal charges? Now, these are all questions that I literally get on the daily basis, and I help people fully realize, what they're asking and what it means. And I would love to go through right now and give every single answer to it. And what I'll do is I'll go to the left of my screen here and kind of give you a more broad explanation and understanding of what I really do, because even though every single one of these questions are important, there's a lot more that goes back into it throughout the entire case, and it's not as simple as yes, you need a lawyer, of course, although a lot of people like to just sum it down to that. There's more to it than that, and what we actually do and why we do it. So how we help, the criminal justice system is a powerful collaboration of police, prosecutors, and other individuals working together toward one goal, to obtain a criminal conviction. It's true. It's the simple nature of it. It's a criminal justice system, and many people are in it and can get stuck in it. Having an experienced criminal defense attorney on your side helps to level the playing field, and I'll get into some of the ways that we help. But I'll quickly mention that, many movies try and portray this system that, it's all fair and it's just part of the way it works. And to some degree, there's some truth in it. I know, movies try and glorify some things and underplay other things. And what I really want to say here is, that the justice system isn't perfect. It is biased. There are flaws. There are imperfections. The system is outdated. It doesn't always do what it's intended to do, and that's something that all these people that are a part of it, judges, prosecutors, police officers, they all have their role in it, and even a defense attorney. We come in, we have our role, and many of those people try and get the conviction, and the problem that I see most often is the police officer does their role. And then they hand it off to a prosecutor who says, oh, look, I'm just here to do my role. And then it gets over to a judge who says, look, I'm just here to do my role. And the problem with that kind of structure is everybody then gets somebody to point the finger at and say, well, look, I'm just a prosecutor. If the police officer, didn't arrest this person, then we'd be fine. And then a judge says, well, I just need to do what the prosecutor says because we're following, sentencing guidelines. And everybody wants to point the finger at each other and nobody wants to actually solve the problem. And that's really what a defense attorney does, is we come in to solve the problem. We basically break down each of those steps and show you as a good person, you as somebody who is different than every single other person who's coming through the system whose story isn't being told. And it's as simple as that, in such a major scale, but that's really what I want to help express here is you're very unique, you have a unique story, and sometimes that's the big difference that's going to, get you the good result that you want. And you have to have a good attorney to help you do that. And a judge or a prosecutor or police officer, as you probably have seen if you're in this situation already, they're not going to believe you, which is why you have an advocate, a lawyer, a councilman, somebody who's here to advocate for you on your behalf. Really at 100% level. We have 100% confidence between attorney and client privilege, and there's little to nothing that can break that unless there's a legal, ethical violation. And we truly take that to heart because, myself in my past, I was never, fortunate enough to be able to hire an attorney when I definitely should have, thought I could do everything on my own. I was young, naive, and it ended up being worse than I thought it would be if I did have an attorney. If I had gotten a good representation, if I had gotten the right advice, I would have been able to avoid more criminal consequences. And I can say that now, looking back at it, because I've made it past the speed bumps years later. But now I get to help people, make that a reality in their life, and that's what brings me joy, and that's what keeps me going every single day. Is the better I get at this every single day, the better your results are. And it's something that in today's day and age, you want an attorney who recognizes that they can be better every single day. Our technology gets better. Our systems get better. We get improvements every day on how cases work. Even within my own system, even within the criminal justice system, within the court system, within the prosecutor system, within the probation officer system, we have ways to improve it because we're not stuck in the old days. We do everything with technology here online. We find people really good results that a lot of times other people can't, and it's unfortunate if that's what happens because you went with the wrong attorney or no attorney. And that's what I want to tell you, is that there are better ways to do things and you don't have to do it alone. So I digress. Continuing on, investigating the charge against you. This is one of the goals of a police investigation, is to obtain evidence that can be used against you in a criminal prosecution, your criminal case. Our investigation services a different purpose. We find holes in the prosecution's case, inconsistencies in evidence against you, and other discrepancies that may give rise to reasonable doubt. This is exactly, what everybody thinks that, we're going to be doing left and right, and it is. It's part of the investigation where 100% of the evidence is against you. A police officer wrote a report that is supposed to be unbiased, it's supposed to be neutral, it's supposed to be the facts. It's a blatant lie that's actually what happens. What really happens is they write all the facts that go against you. They don't write the good things about you that, show that you're innocent. And that's what a defense attorney, that's what my investigators, my paralegals, my other attorneys, we go through and we find and we uncover those things for you. The next thing we do is we scrutinize the officer's conduct. It's very important. If the officer's conduct in connection with your arrest and or in gathering the evidence against you violated your constitutional rights, we can bring a motion. It's a formal request that goes to the judge, and I go into that more in my other videos, to have a judge suppress or throw out the unlawfully obtained evidence before your case goes to trial. This is more of a, the advanced, why you went to law school background that you should really have when you're writing motions and filing motions for a judge who is essentially a higher lawyer, a lawyer who has more experience than anybody else that's supposed to be in the courtroom. Because law schools where they really train you to learn how to argue cases, how to write motions, and how to be successful with it. And it's one of the things where if you have a case and the police have violated your constitutional rights, a motion to suppress is going to be one of the biggest things that can help get your case dismissed, help get you a favorable outcome, whether that's through plea negotiations or diversions, and then ultimately it helps you on the track to trial if that's the way you go, and then of course there for appeals if anything doesn't go the way it's supposed to and we want to redo it. Continuing next, we develop a theory of defense. So we formulate and present a coherent defense theory based on the facts of your case. So you acted in self-defense, you have an alibi, the prosecution's case is built around an unreliable witness. The theory of defense is very important, and this is what I mentioned earlier. If everybody is very unique, everybody has different situations, backgrounds, you probably did something different than somebody else would in your same shoes. And that's what truly is remarkable, I think, about my firm. My firm's very diverse. We have all kinds of different attorneys, investigators, paralegals, assistants, with all kinds of different backgrounds that really have the unique experience to be able to give a very wide array of different possible defenses for you in your case. And in the hundreds of cases that we've seen, there's no two cases that are the same or even really close to the same. We get all kinds of different outcomes. We work against different prosecutors with different judges. And so the defense theory is something that changes every case. So it's very important that you have an attorney who really understands and recognizes that they're willing to adapt and change to this, or else if they're submitting the same simple motions, the same deviation requests that they send in for every single other person, it's not going to work. It's outdated. It's been heard before, and it's no longer unique. And ultimately, that's kind of where you end up, suffering the consequences of having poor representation. Continuing on, we help make a big difference in the big decisions required of a criminal defendant. So we offer wise counsel. That's, of course, my advice that I give based on my experience, based on the things that make strategic decisions that you'll be faced when your case winds its way through the criminal process. I have plenty of other videos that describe some of these different challenges, techniques, advanced methods of working and running the criminal defense system, and you would, believe it or not, believe that, wow, that's so simple to say it then, but you don't think about it beforehand, and it really makes a lot of an impact at the end of your case when you realize that one little thing made all the difference. And that's the hard part of why many people, want to shop around for lawyers and say, well, they sounded good in consultation, but they couldn't give me the golden ticket answer. And that very well could be true. A lot of times we have to dig deep into your case. We have to have the entire police report, the body camera footage, all the interviews done before we find that one big thing that changes your case, or the one small thing that changes your case for a big way. And it happens. And that's why you kind of need an experienced attorney who actually goes through all of your cases and all of your evidence and reviews everything, versus just taking the police's word for gold and saying, oh, this must have been what happened, and they don't even talk to you. They don't understand what happened. They don't, make you videos explaining and showing your evidence to you. Since you were the person who was there, you should know essentially what actually happened better than anybody else. And this is something that I offer that I've never seen other attorneys do it the way I do it, and I hope that continues to stay the same. Although if other attorneys do it, then great, because what we're doing works, and I hope other attorneys pick up on it if they can. Communication with you and your loved ones. Your journey through the criminal process and the criminal justice system is going to be hard for you and your loved ones. We lighten the burden by acting as a sounding board and intermediary between you and your family and friends. I know this is crucial and key. All of my staff, we have our work phones that we constantly reach out to friends, family, colleagues, and give that kind of support, the updates, the knowledge, of course with your permission, which is required beforehand before we're allowed to communicate with them. But even with you, we give those updates as often as we can, and you guys will be contacting my firm and getting responses within minutes, and many people are surprised by that. And it's something that we like and enjoy here. And of course, that's kind of why we also hand select our clients. We want to make sure that you care about your case, hopefully more than us. It's unfortunate, but we used to represent clients who would hire us and they could care less. And they just say, get me the good result and, we'll go from there. And it's unfortunate to have that kind of attitude, perspective about your case, because your case is about you. It's significant. It's important. Of course, there are many things you likely won't understand and you might not need to understand. But hopefully we at least see, the drive, the care, the passion that you want the good result and you deserve it, because there should be something, writing on this case for you, and the outcome that is hopefully going to be positive for you leads to that positive change in your life. So finally, what I'll say here at last is early intervention by an experienced criminal defense lawyer makes all the difference in the outcome of your case. If you want to discuss your situation, I highly recommend you give me a call. I've got my phone number down here. I've got my Phoenix office listed here. I have a office also in Glendale. We do virtual, over the phone consultations, things that are really needed with you or loved ones. And I really hope you take this as a serious opportunity to get some help in a situation that's tough for you and probably tough for anybody else you're dealing with. And it's why you need an experienced attorney who's licensed, has and owns a private law firm to give you the private care you need.